Ring, 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 hello, Simps.
It's Grandma.
It is Grandma. You spit on me. Also, virgins and moon boys. And welcome back to Krown's magical wrecked cave.
We have a magical wrecked cave right now, and by wrecked cave, Elsa means that her back is grandma status, I do guess. Anyways, apparently she ran too hard yesterday, and she has pulled something in her back, and now it's gone. And Bitcoin's holy fucking moly, man! Bitcoin just went up like to the goddamn moon. It's never been higher. This is amazing. This is insane. Holy shit, we're all rich again. $300 to the upside, and it ain't fucking stopping. Good morning. Welcome back to the Krown Crypto channel. There is plenty to talk about today. Going to be very little to be excited about in the upcoming weeks and months. However, for the short term, perhaps yes. Anyways, what are you saying, sir? Elsa said Luna broke her back. She actually literally is having a back issue right now. But yes, the topic of the day was going to be a fucking bounce. Goddamn Bitcoin started 1 second before this damn stream started. Anyways, plenty to talk about today, as we do have a big event coming up a little bit later with the CPI data coming out. And traditionally, this sort of an event, honestly, it doesn't really matter, in my opinion, unless if the data is like egregiously over the over the estimate, which I think it just needs to beat like what 8.1 or I don't even know my numbers at this point. Look, I don't even think the numbers actually matter that much right here. The market just wants a bit of certainty and very likely does initiate a bit of a pity bounce. Now, again, a pity bounce, not the same thing as an overall reversal, but I'm getting ahead of myself right now. So I got a little bit too excited right there and actually just had to close my position. Nice. Okay. Take some profit there. And let's get back into it. I need to make sure that I have my notes all ready over here. I see a lot of familiar faces in the house as well. This is beautiful, man. The people are staying in during these very nasty and downtrodden times, which is actually a really, really good sign, because if you do stay around during these times, if you actually experience, the the distraught times of, a real bear market, you will get emotional conditioning that can only be had by participating in such a thing. Now, many people went through this in 2018 and 2019, and the beautiful thing about Bitcoin is that it can play out market cycles, at least like basically like a market cycle every 4 or 5 years, whereas stock market, you need to wait like 20 years to get a full-on market cycle, basically. So it is absolutely valuable to be sticking around during these times if you especially want to get the sort of emotional condition that you can only get from these sort of times. I'm kind of repeating myself right there, but my point is that, hey, if you are really, a serious trader or investor, this is actually rather important. And for those of you who are just, sticking around to, I don't know, be entertained and hang out, hey, you're more than welcome as well. But, I understand that for many people, it's not even worth it. For people who have lives outside of a space like this is just, they left it like half a year ago now, didn't they? Anyways, I want to say welcome to everyone in here right now. We got 869 people. Great number right there. 225 likes on the video. We're doing well, man. We got wait hold on, we have a new contender for perhaps best name on the whole of YouTube, and it is Ice PP. Hello, Mr. Ice PP. You are competing with Mr. Gaylord and who else? And some G, and who else? Hold on, there's one other one. No, there's Mr. Gaylord, there's some G, and then there's one other one, and now you are now a part of that list as well, my friend. And Leif Erikson, holy shit, man, I've been loving you in that new Viking series. I've actually quite liked it. Now, I'm not so sure about their choices for some characters that seem a little bit historically out of context, but hey, I'm not a fucking historian, so I'll just sit back, man. Suck me, sir. Yes, suck me, sir. That's it. Suck me, sir. Holy shit. We got Suck Me, Sir, Mr. Gaylord, we got some G, and now we have Ice PP. Fucking love it, baby. Fucking love it. Oh, I see you, Mr. Venegas. I see you, brother. Sebastian Vol, J-Dog, and a shit ton of numbers. Gucci Mane. Actually, do we have a Gucci Mane here? Oh man, I used to be a humongous Gucci Mane fan. I don't even know if he produces music anymore. That guy's got to be getting old as fuck at this point. Like, I was listening to him like 15, 20 years ago, and he was already old. So what the hell? Anyways, how about Warm PP? Well, right now, seeing as it's rainy as fuck out over here, perhaps less relevant, but maybe when we get like our 2 weeks of summer, then we can also entertain our warm PPs as well. I see our moderation crew. I see Nikki Page. I see African Crypto World. I see Mr. Michael. Junior Riggs. Holy shit. Talk about OGs of OGs. Good morning to everyone out there. Holy fucking moly, man. TikTok class of 2020 to 2021 still has a few hundred left. They need to die before we up. That is just brutal, man. That is just fucking brutal. I have a little bit more coffee to get through on a day like today, and then we'll get into the content of the day. So as always, if this really truly bothers you, you can just, well, wait until later. You can also complain as well. It'll probably fall on deaf ears. It's like complaining to the government. We're listening. We're not going to do anything about it, but we hear you. Anyways. Uh-oh. Elsa's sneezing so hard she's hurting her back now. Warm coffee makes warm pee-pee. Man, too much coffee makes no pee-pee, in my experience. I mean, no pee-pee works at that point. But hey, maybe that's just me. Anyways, he be slurping. Yep, slurp. Yep, slob on my coffee. Do Kwon, do something. Yeah, people finding out that situations like that, not exactly what you want. Just a general rule in market, when you are kind of news-driven like that, putting your hopes and dreams on, an event like that with Do Kwon, or basically it's Terra Luna buying, billions and billions worth of Bitcoin, usually doesn't end too well in my experience. You want your assets to rally off of basically just, you want your assets to rally off of long form technicals in my experience, and then news events like that typically do get reversed over time, as you just kind of saw. Now, not necessarily that aggressively. That was a very, 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 very insane response, but hey, that can obviously happen. And I see Lillian H. What's up? We got some 15-minute chart hopium for Luna. We can look at Luna today. I'm not going to have too many interesting things to say about Luna, though, because, that one is fundamentally driven right now. So technicals do go, to the wayside here. Obviously, we can look at long-term macro areas, of course. That is what I think does work in these sort of times, if anything's going to work. But ultimately, I would not trust anything below a fucking weekly on that thing, if even that, man, if even that. Anyways, a few more to go over here, and then we'll get right underway. Wrathful Texan says, there's no teacher like the beat market. Yeah, man, you mean the bear market. The beat market. The beat, yes, the bear. Will show you where you are strong and where you are weak. Yeah. I said this many times when Bitcoin was in its, just parabolic moves in 2021. It's like, hey, you don't need to be a professional trader to make a shit ton of money in this market right now. And probably the non-professional traders are making a shit ton more money than me. Like the Moon Boys are making a ton more money than me. I'm sure of it, because they are busy longing their longs, while I'm, risk managing and taking profits, on the way up and whatnot. But when the market reverses, it's about how much you actually can hold on to. And again, people who have been here since 2018, 2019, you know this, and again, that sort of experience is totally invaluable, because you just can't get it in any other way, at least in my opinion. Because you can always say like, hey, I would definitely do this when looking at a historical chart where it's like, 5-10 years ago, and like, oh, Bitcoin went from $1,000 to $200. I would have definitely bought there. It's like, would you have? I mean, probably not. Or for the people who always say like, the early Bitcoin people or the early whoever, they just got lucky holding. It's like, man, holding through a fucking 90% drawdown or trading through that, very fucking difficult. Very, 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 very difficult. I couldn't do it. That's why I'm a trader. I can't hold on to something that goes down 80, 90%. I lose my I won't be able to sleep at night. I can't fucking sleep at night. Shit. Even when I have like just a normal holding position, it's not good, man. So I like to operate on the shorter term time frames. Anyways, just got a couple more over here. I see that a lot of people asking about Luna, so we'll definitely get to that. We'll definitely get to Luna. But like I said, I'm not going to have anything of great interest there. Just higher term time frames. Ash Blundell says, my missus was in labor to your TA video this. Holy shit. Welcome to life, kid. Get ready. Start him fucking young. Love it, man. My firstborn at 4:49 a.m. Hey, congratulations, man. That's awesome. We got a cave baby. Holy shit. With Crypto Krown's voice in mind doing TA analysis. That is epic. I don't know if I should congratulate or apologize for my vocal cords coming through on that, man. But in sincere tone, I do want to say, hey, congratulations, man. That's awesome. We have a cave baby now, and being born into some very interesting times, man. You got a lot of work to do, kid. You got to save the world, but hey, that's how you only can have heroes when times are difficult, of course. But it also says, but don't be woke. Yes, we will refer to him as Zim or Zer or they or them until they can decide when they're about 2 years old, of course. So that's when kids can do it nowadays, I guess. Anyways. Jay Dart says, I'm still learning, not ready to trade. That is a really mature take on these sorts of things. You know, most people will trade before they are ready, before they've actually done their homework, before they've actually done the work to, you know, figure out their strategies. And that's really the biggest impediment that I see towards people typically getting to that destination, is that they will sacrifice all of their trading equity during the learning phase when they don't need to. You don't need to, obviously. You know this. Use a fucking testing account. Bybit has one. I have a link to Bybit in the description below. There's a subtle shill of the day. I think most leverage exchanges have them. It's free to do. It's completely fine. You can track your results again for free on the Krown trading application. You can also use pen and paper. You know, it's right here. You know, it does exactly for you. Excel is fine as well. Even Google has their free service online. You have to fill it out yourself, but whatever. I mean, you know, it's easily doable. If you go into something like this, you can test those strategies out. You can test those theories out. You can find out, hey, is this going to work or not without actually sacrificing trading equity? And then if it does work, then perhaps deploy. If it doesn't, probably don't deploy. You know, but that's the problem. You know, we all try to kind of sidestep and take shortcuts. It's human nature, man. I'm not like trying to down talk anyone. It's just human nature is what it is. Luna lost to the Bear Moon. Yeah, man. Bear Moon, powerful fucking moons over there. I wonder where those damn astrologers are at this point, because those moons actually been working pretty fucking well. Even better than they have been in the more shallower times, because I remember it late Q4 of last year, it wasn't as good, if you will. It wasn't as good, but they recovered themselves. Hey, and all right, I just, did I close this one? Hey, I closed it. All right, nice. Good way to start the day. Good way to start today. Could have made that trade a lot fucking more, but can't get greedy in times like this, man. Uh-oh, Do Kwon done goofed. All right, I got 2 more sips over here, and then we're ready to go. Elsa's, like, massively struggling, though. Are you going to be okay? If you're not going to be okay... Okay, well, I can just ask one of the moderators to send me the super chats. It wouldn't be a big issue. Best browser for VPN user? I don't know, man. I think a lot of people like the the Brave browser, but I've never used it, man. I don't bother with that. I live overseas and I have residencies and whatnot over here. So Krown broker back. That's right, man. So fucking powerful, so fucking strong. Broker back, just like the Bears broke Luna, bro. Yeah, Do Kwon went from being like the hero of the market to being the villain of the market real fast. You know, it's interesting to see. I don't judge him one way or the other. Like, he's going to do what he's going to do. He thought he was doing what was in his best interest. Obviously played out the other way. You know, and that shit happens, man. I'd be a little bit more on the forgiving side for someone like that. You know, he's trying to push the balls forwards. He's trying to do something right. Didn't work out, I guess, or at least for right now. But then again, you never know sort of the... You know, time reveals all, right? So we don't really know what the final result's going to be. We just know right now, not very good. Not that it was going to be Joe Bidet going to crash the mic. Not gonna. Your coffee is bad for my mental health. Yeah, man, I do understand. But I just got one more sip here, and then we'll get right into it. Okay, cool. All right, that's finished up. Let me bring up my notes over here. Okay, let me make sure that all my charts are ready. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Yep, okay, we're good to go. Alrighty, here we go for Bitcoin. We have a big event today with the CPI data coming out a little bit later, I believe around market open, but don't quote me on that one. And that likely does set the stage for a bit of a range and probably resolution. In this case, I do think that the market's a little bit more likely to bounce for the reasons that we've been postulating over the past 24 hours. Still yet to come to fruition, but today would be the day that you'd be looking, or I'd be looking for something like that to play out if it is indeed going to play out. Now, obviously, in this case, we are seeing extremes on pretty much all timeframes for Bitcoin, but on BBWP measuring the volatility, the dispersion of returns, of course, right here. And we are starting to see even the 12-hour move ever so closer towards the moving average on that. So once we do see the BBWP get below there, I would be looking for at minimum a sideways range plus probably a corrective bounce. Again, corrective bounce within the context of current trend does imply, you know, long-term continuation, but Bitcoin, you know, being a very volatile asset can play out some pretty, some pretty impressive bounces if it wants to. But this is consistent amongst all lower-term timeframes right here. 12-hour, 6-hour is double extremes, which is usually a good sign for me to be looking for bounces. 4-hour is already there. And then even the daily, I think, is, the highest level that it's been since Wow, the highest level that it's been since May of last year, in fact. So of course, this can obviously stay up here for a little bit of time, but ultimately I would be looking for Bitcoin to put in a bit of a base as it does come off of a round psychological even number, that $30,000 region that I think a lot of people are looking at. And typically when you get something like that, it's very likely to bounce at these regions, but long term, perhaps weeks down the road, quite likely to roll over as well as people kind of puke out these sort of regions right here. But in that case, also in alignment with likely a bounce probably in this next 24-hour session, we do see extremes on volume, not just volatility, and we expect extremes on, nice pivots on the market. So in this case, I do want to now bring out the next piece of which I'm going to go over here for CME. I'm going to go down to a 4-hour time frame. And what do we have? We have a bit of a short-term range and resolution in order here. So let me go down actually to an hour in this case. The top side of the short-term range is going to be basically the high of, was this yesterday? Yeah, this was yesterday. Basically at around 32,600 or so. Any sort of an hourly closure above there, I would initiate or I would call an extension of the bounce to very likely somewhere around this blue box target over here. Doesn't necessarily need to happen all in the same day, but perhaps throughout the rest of the week, something like that. I suspect that that's probably what we're looking at around the time that CPI data drops later today. And to the downside, if this were to happen, I would immediately get, bearish for a continuation down somewhere around about 28,000 to 28,500 or so. And that would be even with an hourly closure below yesterday's low, or sorry, it's actually today's low, at least for myself, being that I am in the Eastern European time zone here. And that would be below about 30,100. That's 30,100. Anywhere below there, I do look for one more continuation drive to the downside. Very likely targets initiated towards about 38,500. Which I'll explain in just a moment, or I guess I could just do it right now. It's based off of the 5-day 200 simple right here, of which I would be looking for bounce off that region in this case. Also, same sort of wick lows that we do see on the macro scale coming in from this macro range that Bitcoin's been in for about a year and a half now. Anyways, on top of that, what also does suggest likely corrective bounce in the midst here is over here on the daily. We did fulfill the criteria needed to cross the daily stochastic momentum back onto the upside for CME. Now, in order to remain to the upside, 33,100 would need to be closed above today. And on spot price action, it's now starting to fall through as well. And by Wednesday, which we are on Wednesday right now, you can start to use spot, at least in my experience. I think that that's okay yet again. And we will see it naturally cross the upside with any sort of a closure today above 31,350 or so. So especially if 31,350 is closed above today for the daily, I would be looking for that bounce to carry Bitcoin onwards and upwards, likely somewhere short term to about 33 to 33.5. And then potentially all the way back up to the gap fill that we do see on CME coming in back from last Friday's closure to this Monday's open, which is also in alignment if we take a fib from the overall range that Bitcoin's been in for basically this whole year, right around the 382 Fibonacci retracement. And that's a pocket between about 34,500 on the bottom to as much as about 35,500 to the top right there. I would be looking for pullbacks from that region. And to be fair, this is a bearish retracement, being that Bitcoin is in a downtrend, obviously. And you do kind of expect your lower high somewhere around the 382 on a strong trending movement. We also see the 9 exponential on the daily coming in that region as well. And all lower term timeframes are starting to flip back around here for momentum to the upside from a stochastic momentum perspective. We can see 12-hour over here across the upside. It will remain with upside momentum as long as Bitcoin's above 30,450. Again, we see this is very likely a corrective signal. So I'm not calling a reversal here, just potential bounce, especially if Bitcoin does clear above yesterday's high. And I imagine that probably happens sometime around CPI data release later today. In this case, 6-hour is also going to be showing upside momentum as long as Bitcoin is above basically 30,000 bucks or 29,850 or so. 4-hour is going to be showing also upside momentum as long as Bitcoin's above 31,200, which is currently 400 bucks above right now. And hourly is also going to be up actually as long as Bitcoin's above 30,800. So I do suspect that Bitcoin's a little bit more likely to bounce today than not. And if Bitcoin does clear above essentially yesterday's high, especially on an hourly closure, I would extend targets again short term to about 33.5 to 34, and then probably a bit of a range, and then likely another leg up testing somewhere around here. At that point, I would want to come back tomorrow and see where things are at. I would neither call continuation or reversal exactly from that moment, but I do want to once again I do want to once again express my concerns long term that Bitcoin probably does have more downside, or at least statistically speaking, it's relevant to suggest that downside is still, quite likely here. Anyways, let me just pull this up as far as this goes, because I did forget one major thing over here, the global open interest. So this is something that I've been speaking about a lot. I even got some shit for this too, which is, well, fair enough. People are, of course, entitled to their opinions, right? But in this case, I was saying that anytime that we have seen global open interest above about 14 billion or even around 14 billion plus a local high confirmed, that has initiated pretty much all of the open interest flushes throughout the last couple of years here. And we are now back down around the flushing area, if you will, which is about 10 billion even. And you can see that that's essentially where Bitcoin did put in some pretty major lows earlier this year in February, March, and January as well. Now, again, all of these were just corrective bounces before long-term continuation, but I would expect that, it kind of aligns with a bit of a bounce here. And these bear market bounces, they can be really, 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 really nasty. Anyone who's actually traded like a full-on bear market, that these bear market bounces, they are just, it's really, really difficult, honestly. At least for me, it is quite difficult, because the whole psychology of them is to make you bullish yet again. And realistically, where does Bitcoin actually flip around, do the old flipperoonie, and become, I guess, bullish, if you will? Well, I would say on the macro scale, certainly not until we see above about $52,000. Until then, everything is basically down as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, we can obviously call upside moves in between there, and I'm sure that there's going to be some pretty aggressive ones. I mean, even from here to like 33, 34,000 bucks is, that's a 10% move, to put it into context. But ultimately, I would express caution long term here for Bitcoin still. And one of the big things for me is, of course, this chart right here, and we'll probably end on this one, and that is going to be the 5-day volatility versus momentum chart. It's for the people who've been looking at the daily one, that one already played out, and because it also played out, we kind of do expect a bounce after targets like that have been hit. This one is still, however, active though. There's actually a really good question in Discord yesterday. Someone was asking me if I thought that this expansion phase off of BBWP would play within the trend line of this, of the last couple of years here, or the last year and a half. Look, I just put in this trend line for reference. I don't think that trend lines on volatility indicators actually work in this case, but if you are looking at it, yes, it is breaking, and this does suggest that we are going to see, a macro shift. If you kind of interpret it in that way. For myself, I would not go that far, but not even going that far is still nasty enough in this case, as anytime that we have seen the 5-day BBWP in the teens or lower, especially, the expansion phase from that has led to an average move of about 45% up or down, because of course, volatility is direction neutral over the course of, on average, just over 40 days. We've seen our first stretch of expansion over here last week of April. So we are looking for this, or theoretically, historically speaking, we would be looking for this to play out towards those, averages by around the end of this month or early whatever the next month is, which I think is June. What are we, May, June, whatever the fuck, doesn't matter. Or I guess it does matter, but basically end of this month, early whatever the month after this one is. And in this case, we have seen that 5 days stochastic momentum has been, incredibly accurate, especially in the past couple of years here. And we can even backtest it further than that with getting the general direction of that expansion on volatility. So we've already obviously seen like the first 25 to 30% move of this. And in this case, we have seen it, to the downside. So in this case, we don't only see that 5-day BBWP, 5-day stochastic momentum is actually getting back into the bearish control zone after rejecting, the bullish control zone over here. That's kind of where the hopium last aligned, and also rejection of this regression trend line right here as well. But also, we can forecast the new price that would be needed in order to force this one back to the upside, be seen as we just got another close last night. So this number is significantly different now, and it is 38,750. So if Bitcoins could start to close back above that region, that's where it starts to say, hey, there might be some long-term hopium here. But until then, pressure remains to the downside, and 45% from that expansion phase right here, would suggest Bitcoin somewhere down around about $24,000 to $25,000. That, of course, is also in alignment with, actually, let me, whoopsies, I done goofed over there. That, of course, obviously is in alignment with one of the CME gaps from about a year and a half ago, back down around here. And also in alignment with several other things as well. One of the big ones for me, actually, is this that I brought up yesterday, I think it was. Let me just double check on it. Yeah, here it is, and that is deviations on the macro for Bitcoin on its macro lows from the green moving average here. The green moving average is a 55 exponential, and basically anytime that we have seen Bitcoin drop below it, it has led to, well, an average move of about 40 to 50% below that region, which is basically the low $20,000 territory over the course of the next basically month. Right here, the only one that doesn't necessarily work within that structure was, of course, the Rona dump. Now, again, you could argue that that was a bit of a black swan, so we don't expect it to work exactly in that way. But ultimately, we do expect that over time, this percentage drop down should be less and less as the asset matures. Naturally speaking, you expect less of, less like aggressive moves as the asset grows from hundreds of millions to billions to trillions. And in this case, I would kind of suggest maybe around 40% would be reasonable. Again, that kind of puts Bitcoin down around the mid to low $20,000 territory. Who knows where a stray wick is found, but ultimately, again, as long as this condition is present over here, which let me just bring it back up. Yeah, here we go. As long as this condition is present over... Oh, motherfucker, I just done goofed again. There we go. Apologies. I'm having autistic rages right now, but... as long as this condition is present, risk does remain to the downside from a statistical perspective, at least in my opinion. I think that that's more relevant. So again, Bitcoin can play out a nice bounce here, definitely. But bounce is not the same thing as reversal. And again, it can bounce, several $1,000s to the upside. I wouldn't even consider, I would not consider reversal at all whatsoever is even likely until at minimum that 5 day stochastic momentum is back to the upside. Until then, I'm sure that we're starting to build up some divergences over here. Yeah, we got a little bit of phantom div formulating on the 4 hour for CME. So probably a little bit of short-term range and probably test the upside around CPI data later today. I would still, however, look at this as in a range resolution perspective. So, hey, below 30,100, I would immediately get bearish for one more swipe to the downside, probably a little bit lower than we're currently at, somewhere around about 28,000, even to 28,500. Anyways, hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for Bitcoin, sirs and zers. Nice. Sir, you all right over there? Or?
Just continue and ignore me.
Okay. All right. Cool. Is my camera working okay? I think it's acceptable. Hasn't Bitcoin always tested past cycle tops? Actually, no, it has not. No, that is false. That is completely false, actually. In fact, just a quick perusal of this chart would immediately tell you that. When was the 2013 top retested? I never saw it. Not in the next market cycle. When was this top retested? It was tested in the next market cycle, yes. What about this one? Not even fucking close. I mean, I'm gonna guess that this is like hundreds of percent away. Yeah, about 125% away. So don't know where you got that from, but be careful with parroting what you hear around the crypto sphere, because most people do very little research themselves and they just say stuff that sounds good. Anyways, that's not a dig at you, man. That's a dig at the very interesting crypto Twitter and crypto YouTube accounts that I see across the lands. But hey, man, that's not my fucking problem. So maybe I get off that topic. Anyways, we got Mr. or I see Dodgy Money says, I just saw the best place, Krown's Golden Massage. Oh, God. Would you like to be worked on by these strong man hands? I'm very hairy as well, man. You're going to get some stray hairs all over you. Dude, it's actually like disgusting, man. Even when I sit down to eat, like the dining table just gets filled with I don't even know how it happens. Like it's a surprise to me. Anyways, okay, I see the comments over here. Let's see what Matador MC has first. He said he's looking at TA on UST stablecoin for Luna. All right. Does TradingView have this? Let's see. Look, I don't think that TA is going to work on something like this. Sir, you all right? Are you crying or laughing? Oh, okay, laughing. Oh, you can't laugh because it hurts. Okay. Never heard that one before. It's wrecked. This is my highly esteemed technical analysis. Looks like shit. I don't know, man. Look, again, this one has something else going on here. I don't think that technicals are really going to work on something like this. For me, doesn't matter. Looks fucking awful though, man, for what it's worth. See what a 15, I mean, like if I was looking at this just from a technical perspective, I'd say, yeah, this one probably comes back down to like 60 cents, maybe lower. I mean, it's clear distribution, but I don't think that actually works in these sort of cases. Big D. Whoa, Big D. Big D. Holy shit, it actually is a golden crown massage. That looks incredibly questionable. Honestly, you need to see this. What the fuck? Who's going to this house to get massaged and thinks that that's a good idea? Like, for fuck's sake, you have to be seriously, man. Okay. Dodgymon will let us know if it's good or not. Man, you got to be seriously deprived in order to think that that's a good idea. Like, that just looks like a. Hey, bro, ready to get massaged? I'm ready to massage the shit out of you, bro. I just got fucked by Bitcoin. It's time to fuck you. Big DM says, hey, Krown, this is Dude Daddy. What's up, man? New name, got kicked out for calling Bitboy a scumbag shiller. Can you look at Briz? Briz. Okay, cool. Briz USD on Gate.io. What the hell is this thing, man? Dude, fuck if I know on this. Okay, you're looking at a 4 hour, right? Let's go to a 4 hour. This is kind of where you would be looking for a lower high. So I'd be looking at this from a range resolution perspective. In this case, I would need to see a closure above quadruple eights in order for me to say, hey, this one's actually reversed, and you're probably looking at targets back up towards 100,000 and maybe beyond. Until then, this would be a great place for another lower high that would be fully confirmed by any sort of a 4 hour closure below 78,000 with targets somewhere back down around your current lows. Until then, I don't know how much I trust a chart that's this new again. It could certainly be worse. I mean, that's for sure. Short-term timeframes look to be putting in a constructive consolidation here. So, if it is going to end up being bullish, you probably see something like this, puts another higher low, and then busts on through to the upside above that higher end there. And at that point, I'd be looking for extension short-term to like 93, and then probably 100,000 plus or so. Until then, again, I don't think that I have very useful analysis on something like this. I would feel very strongly, however, if you do lose 78,000, very likely back down somewhere around your current lows. Would be pretty ugly. Anyways, let me scroll back up on over here, and Stefan Milicevic has the question of the day. I'm sure everyone and their mom will ask, but can you explain the whole Luna thing? Any comeback chance? RIP hodlers. Yeah, I'll try to record this again. You're speaking to someone who doesn't look at nor really honestly care about the fundamentals, maybe to my own demise, but that's also why I don't trade something like this, because I don't want the added risk of something like this. Obviously, this one like smashed my like $45 to $50 target months ahead of what he was looking for. Again, there's no way for me to actually know that, nor do I suspect anyone for that matter. But yeah, let me kind of catch my bearings over here and look. I'm just curious what this would say, just out of curiosity, not because I think this is actually going to be helpful. Jesus Christ, man. This thing is so fucking insane. This is great. Weekly stochastic cross, not possible. Literally not possible. That is insane. I don't think I've actually seen that before on an asset that does have enough history for what it's worth. Anyways, here we have Terra Luna symbol LUNA versus the dollar. I wanted to follow up on the slew of analyses that I've been posting on this one. As the last analysis that I was looking at was we were suggesting targets back down to like $45 to $55 or so long term. In this case, happened very short term. Of course, that's something that's out of my wheelhouse. But what I want to say about this is that when we do have an event-driven sort of move here, which this one certainly is, I don't trust technical analysis that much. Now, what I do think can have a bit of use is looking at the very higher term timeframes, the macro timeframes, if you will, and kind of marking off very obvious areas. Anything other than that, I think is quite literally just pure gambling. This is why I do not trade altcoins in general, because I don't want the added risk of, well, something like this happening. For example, Bitcoin, you don't necessarily have to worry about like the CEO doing something like this, because there is none, right? Now it has its own issues as well, obviously, but I would rather deal with those issues than issues like this. And in this case, where are your obvious macro levels here? Well, we do see the last major macro low is coming in from about $8.50 high to about $4.50 low in this whole pocket right here. Probably would be looking for some bottoming action within this region, assuming it gets there, which it looks like it probably does. It's going to be bounced along the way, obviously, but probably over summer, if this one actually does end up putting a low, it looks something like this, where it bounces into it, spends some time going sideways, and then maybe years down the road, it'll put in another rally. Problem is, any rally that fails to get back above like $60 is just another lower high in the macro scale, and that's not great. And then, of course, if you do see anywhere below the low of this prior range here in May of 2021, so last summer, which was about 4.25, then at that point, I guess I'd look for the next nuke to the downside, somewhere around like $1.50 to $1 even or so, I guess. Not that I trust it too much, but I just kind of want to reiterate my stance on this one because I actually got a lot of shit on the last video that I posted for this. I think it's because people maybe were not understanding or maybe just were not aware that I've been talking about those targets down to like $45 to $55 when price action was trading like here at $100, which I was getting a lot of shit for there. People saying that's not possible. So fair enough. Again, people are entitled to their own opinion, but perhaps a little bit of color in that situation would be in order. I don't claim to be perfect, obviously. I'm certainly not perfect. I know that for a fact, but in this case, I actually felt quite good about that one. Anyways, until then, I would say that any sort of a bounce in the relative short term, that is, very likely gets rejected below about $25 or so. This is kind of where I'd be looking for on relative short-term lower highs, within maybe like the next month and a half or so, something like that right there. Until then, just game of range resolutions and in macro areas here. And personally speaking, when things get into a situation like this, I don't think it's wise to try to be a hero and try to trade this. It's just unnecessary risk, and trading is already, it already has its own risk. We don't need unforeseen events or, of course, potential black swans to increase that. Just personal opinion right there. So if we do go and try to do some more, I guess, technical analysis on this one, is this one coming into a short-term low relatively soon? Very likely, yes. I mean, you're seeing extremes here on daily BBWP. I expect this to go more though, because you are in like the, one of the most extreme conditions that you could possibly get into. I expect this to really redline here, probably even twice before it does put in a constructive bounce. So that, and I'm saying like a, higher term time frame bounce, that is, that might get you back up somewhere around like 20 to $25 or so. Until then, I'd be looking for this to cool off a little bit. Probably dribbles around the lows, maybe a little bit lower as well, somewhere in that blue box, and then probably tries to bounce from there. But ultimately, this one, I think the real question that like a lot of people have is, when will it reverse? Well, the thing is that it's probably going to take an extremely long time, if it is going to at all. What I can feel extremely confident with saying is that you're not going to see anything like this, like where it just V bottoms out of there immediately, back up above like, $30 or so. I think at best you're going to be going sideways on the lows for a while, and then if it even ends up being bullish, it'd be something like that. It'd be something like that if I had to guess, with a long period of reaccumulation where it gets very, very boring for a long time, and then perhaps you do see that move. But until then, I'd be very, 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 very skeptical of this asset. So hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for Luna, SIRS, and ZIRS. In fact, I think I'll just leave on this one last thing. I've never actually seen this on an asset that has, a decent amount of history, which is the weekly stochastic momentum. Obviously, it's going to be downside angled. And what's interesting about this is that across the upside is literally not even possible at this point. As far as that goes, daily, again, you're hitting extremes here. 18, like literally you need a 2x off the lows in order to force daily momentum back onto the upside. And again, that would still just be a corrective bounce most likely. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for Luna, SIRS, and ZIRS. Lovely. Go down. Okay. I see Big D is back. Elsa Prada Foundation. Well, I think she's going to need back surgery foundation soon, man. But I'm sure that she appreciates it. Migto Biologic says, can we get Luna on the 1 and 4? It looks oversold, but it's got greater fundamentals. Oh, baby. A whole new crop of crypto investors finding out that oversold means absolutely fucking nothing in trending markets. Although, to be fair, oversold is typically more difficult to stay down for that long than overbought, for example. But I mean, again, you're seeing extremes here. I expect this to get a little bit more extreme before you see some sort of a balance, man. But goddamn, bro, this one already went down like 90%. Certainly, it can't go any lower. Actually, how low? How much down is this one? Sir, stop sneezing. You're only gonna hurt yourself. Down 93%. And potentially another 90% to go. Jesus. Fucking brutal, man. Fucking brutal. Smart Contact Crypto says Luna on the 4 hour and daily. Yep, I think we already got that one. Again, I'm not going to say anything anything too specific here. I'd be looking, for, again, daily BBWP to max out here for, a while, multiple days at minimum, probably more like a week or two. And then I'd also want to see something resembling bullish evidence on daily RSI. The RSI is literally at 15.5 right now, which you don't see on a daily too often, but it can go lower. It has been lower in history, actually, over here, just ever so slightly. But yes, it has been about 15 even or so. Not a fucking good thing, though. Not a fucking good thing. So that probably does suggest that it does go lower first, prints in some divergence, and then puts in a bounce. Maybe the bounce brings it back up somewhere around 20 to 25 bucks. I think even that's kind of asking for a lot. I mean, this is just fucking gambling right here, in my opinion. Do you think this Luna situation is a coordinated effort waged by Justin Sung? There's no way for me to know that. And I think that, and I understand that there's like people want to naturally know. They want to know the reason, right? It's intuitive. It's our human sort of psychology. We want some sort of a justification for why this move happened. At the end of the day, it does not fucking matter for a trader. All that we care about is, well, risk reward and setups, man. As far as the reason why, there's really no other reason why than this simple thing. And this is the only reason why price action ever moves, ever. And anyone who tells you anything other than this is telling you a narrative, which in my opinion can never be fully true. It just can't. There's no way of fully knowing it. And it's this: the only reason why price action ever moves ever is an imbalance between buyers and sellers. That's all. That's it. Who did it? Doesn't fucking matter. Was it Justin Sun? Doesn't fucking matter. Do you think it was just him? Certainly it wasn't just him, even if he did, even if that was his intention. This is a world market. This is a market for Luna that traded on that day, 15 million contracts, 15 million just on Binance, right? And that's not including other exchanges as well. So I don't think that there's any way to say that at all. You're saying I'm buying the Luna dip just to buy Sun's attack. I don't think that matters, to be honest with you. I think that you're playing into a narrative and you're honestly getting played, to be quite frank. There's no way for you to know that. I think people also have speculated that Citadel did it. People just want a fucking boogeyman to blame. And see, look at what you're doing. And again, I'm not criticizing you. I'm just kind of analyzing the situation, hopefully for help. But basically, look at what you're doing. You're playing into this narrative. It's like, oh, Justin Sun did this. I don't like Justin Sun, so I'm going to go and do the opposite. There's no way for you to know that to begin with. And also, does it matter anyways? Like, what is you buying going to do? Unless if you are, working with billions and billions yourself. Now, of course, conglomerated effort by a lot of people can maybe help, but still, you don't need to do that, man. Why, do you need to be the hero of the market to fix that for everyone, or can you even do that reasonably to begin with? I just think it's misguided, to be honest with you. That's just me. Anyway, South Charlotte Services says, thanks. Hey man, all good. Go down. Boris Rusky says, could we expect much lower prices than in the past, considering lower BBWP than ever in history on the monthly? So let me just kind of bring everyone to speed with what you're talking about. So you're talking about this right here. Let me see. Actually don't have it marked off, but basically it's this. We actually don't have the lowest BBWP on the monthly. It's the second lowest right now, but it's, still pretty fucking low. For what it's worth, when Bitcoin has had a low BBWP on the monthly, they actually have been bottoms for the most part. But theoretically, granted your question, yes. I mean, because we've never really seen BBWP expand from the lows on a trending downside monthly move, actually. Typically they've been bottoms. So for what it's worth, to answer your direct question, yeah, absolutely. That's what it would imply, but I'm still not necessarily there myself. I do think Bitcoin, again, statistically speaking, does adjust somewhere around $24,000 to $25,000 in the next month or two is statistically relevant. But other than that, I'd rather just play it, day to day in this case. Just personal opinion. Anyways, but your intuition with that signal is correct, though. Is correct. So I'm just kind of countering it a bit, but you are correct, 100%. Okay, South Charlotte Services says, thanks for everything. You've all been a game. Hey man, you did whatever the fuck you're doing, man. You did it yourself, not me. I look at charts completely different now. That's cool, man. But again, remember, you are the one who's making the decision for yourself. So well, maybe I can provide, a bit of insight here into there into the way that I look at things.
Sir,
What?
did you do everything above?
I did everything above. Yes. I don't know where I was going with that one, man. Elsa just cut me off, and I've lost it for forever now. Just kidding, man. Anyways, weekly and monthly for symbol CRO, wrecked and more wrecked, but very likely a bounce area right here. Yeah. I actually want to go down to a daily. I think that you do probably play at a bounce over the next week or so, probably somewhere around a quarter, maybe even as much as 27, 28 cents or so. Long term, though, very difficult chart to love as long as you're below basically your macro breakdown area, which was 39. Yeah, about 39 cents or so. So, this one can bounce hard. It probably does bounce hard, but ultimately, I would express long-term concern with it as long as you're below 39 cents. And it sounds like you are more long-term minded here. The monthly is obviously a bit more in free fall, but, more likely to bounce here first. Probably does something like this, plays up, something like that. Whether it puts in a lower high at like 30 cents or maybe even gets to like 37, 38, that's fine. But I'd probably be looking for something like that at best. If it does something like that, maybe you start to see a bottom formed at this low 20 to a quarter cent region. If you do obviously start to break below about 20 cents, I would be looking for the next major targets down somewhere mid-teens, 15 to 16 cents or so. Yeah, again, I mean, here's also the problem with not just CRO, but also Bitcoin. Weekly BBWP is just expanding off the lows, and I don't think it's done just yet. Bitcoin's the same thing as well. Like, I don't think it's done just yet. So, a bit humbling right there, obviously. Cool. Go down. Dan Sholem says Ethereum Dominance on the daily and weekly. Yeah, we could also take this moment to also just look at Ethereum in general. Okay. I'm guessing it's going up. Yeah, it actually looking like Ethereum Bitcoin chart. All right, here we have Ethereum Dominance. We'll also look at Ethereum versus the dollar as well. And this is rather interesting because Ethereum Dominance is trending up and continuing with the upside alongside a general market downside move. So again, this is not the same thing as US dollar price going up, obviously, but Ethereum relative to other assets is holding up better. Theoretically, this would make sense because, people are probably going to dump their altcoins first and then go back into Ethereum if they so desire. And so it's probably going to force this one up. But ultimately, this chart, long-term good, long-term bullish, and I would be looking for this one to make legs up towards 21.5% to 22% in the next couple months here, maybe shorter than that, maybe longer than that, or actually looking at the monthly, probably later this month, early next month, if you will. But long term, I'd actually even be looking for it to continue upwards and onwards. There's nothing bearish about this chart as long as you're above 17 spot 17 actually. Now I do want to take this moment to look at Ethereum versus the dollar as well. Obviously a different story here as Ethereum versus the dollar, in a very heavy downtrend. But just like Bitcoin in the short term, I do suspect that it probably does bounce here. You're coming off of a macro level, that breakout that we did see from July of last year. Also our current year 2022 lows. So this is a good bounce region, especially with CPI data coming out later today. The market probably gets a chance to bounce. Bounces can very easily come up to 2,500. But ultimately, I would remain long-term bearish on this one, especially as long as you're, closing weeklies below about 3,500, let alone dailies below like 2,800. This last lower high that we saw over here at about 2,950 or so. So ultimately, I just want to be on record as saying, I expect to bounce, most likely, but long-term, I do still look lower, actually. Daily is actually not giving us extremes here yet on daily BBWP. 12-hour hopefully is. Yeah, it's starting to give us extremes right now. 6 hours certainly should be, yes, and it definitely is. So, short term, bit of sideways, probably tries a bit of upside. I think 2,500 is certainly not out of the question. If things really get crazy, about 2,650 or so. But ultimately, I do still think that risk remains lower, and I would call a downside continuation with any sort of a 4-hour closure below 2250. At that point, I do look for the next macro targets likely to be hit, and that's probably going to be somewhere down around your July lows of last year, which is between about 1,800 to like 1,500 or so. It is a macro range, obviously, or probably closer to the lower end of that. If we go over here and check out stochastic momentum, I'm curious where the pivots are. Daily will turn up with any sort of a closure today above 2320. If that condition is met, I would be looking for that bounce most likely. 5-day is showing heavy downside below 3,000. So again, corrective at best here. Still pressure downside on the weekly, and the monthly is obviously going to be downside angled and just nose diving here like no tomorrow below 4250. So long term, I still believe that risk is much much, much lower. Or I wouldn't say that's, obviously a relative statement, but short term, probably does play out some sideways and an upside bounces here, as all lower term timeframes stochastic momentum is, primed for a bit of a corrective bounce. Again, corrective within the context of trend does mean, short term upside probably does put in lower highs. But being that this is rather volatile time, these things can bounce rather aggressively in this next like week or two. So hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for Ethereum, SIRS and ZIRS. Or actually, I should probably mark off the short-term range highs here. That's going to be right here, basically yesterday's high at 24.50. Any sort of a 4-hour closure above there, or even an hourly, or the daily closing above this stochastic momentum level that we just pointed out. And I would probably be looking for that move somewhere around 25, maybe a little bit more than 25, like somewhere between 25 and 26 most likely, and then come back to it after that. Anyways, hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for Ethereum, SIR. Cool. Let's see. All right. Leia Rich says, if we see this short-term bounce on Bitcoin, where do you see Sol bouncing? Let's see. Where is Sol at right now? Well, it's down in the dumps, as is most things. If Bitcoin were to bounce, Sol can actually bounce rather aggressively too. Actually, man, it really tried for a big bounce yesterday, didn't it? Yeah, probably somewhere around 79 to maybe even as much as $85, something like that in this blue box right here. Again, still would remain in overall long-term downtrends, but I would negate any sort of a bounce attempt if you see any sort of a 4-hour closure below this morning's low, yesterday's low, which is 63 and 20. At that point, I look for this one to continue the dying swan formation and play down to like 55 or so before the next weekly bounce. But for right here, I do think you're probably in a good bouncy region. To be fair, again, assuming that Bitcoin does as well, you'll know, or at least I would confirm a nice bounce on this one if you do see even an hourly closure above about 72.5. And at that point, I probably would be looking for like low 80s, basically. Let's see what we have over here. Probably not even going to matter too much, but just curious. Daily, yeah, crosses back up above 64.35. If you see that closure above there today, very likely does bounce first before anything else. Long term though, heavily fucking bearish below 150. Yeah, nasty, man, fucking nasty. John Dude says, Krown, do you eat carbs as interested in your health and exercise routine? I do eat fruit, but other than that, no carbs, no. I'm trying to eat lots of meat and exercise daily to boost health and energy levels. Man, I've had the most success with eating. This is not health advice, by the way. I've consulted with some pretty great guys in that regard. Actually, one of them is here. I don't know if he wants me to shill him, but Mr. Bear Nutrition, that guy, he's the fucking man. He's the absolute. He fixed Elsa, and Elsa is like, she's like forever grateful. It's the best, and he's helped me a shit ton as well. Don't get it twisted. But yeah, as far as I go, I eat pretty much all meat, and then I'll have like a shit ton of fruit in the morning typically. But yeah, and when I say eat meat, man, I don't just eat like muscle meat. I also eat like liver, stuff like that. Really seems to help. And yeah, just a daily exercise. I work out like 4 or 5 days, or usually 5 days a week. And then the days that I don't, I always walk at least like 10,000 to 20,000 steps. To me, that's kind of like, it just seems to be the right balance. And then also daily sauna as well, which I absolutely fucking love, but probably more difficult if you're not in a country like Finland, I think. Super Googly Lee says, shorting Luna from $80, sir. I'm set for life. If I exit now, should I? Dude, I mean, you answered your question. Like, you don't need to squeeze water from a rock here. Yeah, does it go lower? I mean, might go a little bit lower. Yeah, definitely. But look, you can always take like some profit. It's definitely going to make you feel a lot better to take some profit, realize it. Do I think that you're basically going to V bottom out of here and lose your life-changing profit? Probably not. But, personally speaking, I would take the money when it's in my hand. At least some, man. But hey, this is not financial advice. I would suggest, however, hey, consider that, man, because whether it goes down like another, I mean, the problem is it can go down another like 20-30% very easily. I mean, shit, it can even go down like another fucking 50% rather easily too. But I don't like playing these sort of events, so that's just me, man. But congratulations, man. That's awesome. That's fucking amazing. I mean, Jesus Christ. Beautiful, fucking beautiful. $80 down to $10. I mean, you don't really get too many opportunities like that in life. That is amazing. Like, how much of a move is that? Okay, $80 was like all the way up here. Jesus, man. Yeah, you got a 90% move almost. Pretty fucking good. Pretty fucking good. What? You done goofed? Oh yeah, well yeah, I can do it. It's not a big deal though. Fucking by the dip says, hey man, thanks for all you do. Drink some water, mate. I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that, man. You don't want to look at anything though? No link today. Yeah, I'll pin it. Let me just see where it's at. There it is. Nice. And let me just put this over here. Okay, cool. All right, let's see what else we got. Gabe M says Cardano short time frames and 12-hour. All right. We got rent to pay now, baby. I mean, it probably bounces here. All right, I wanted to follow up on the Carderpio video, symbol ADA versus the dollar, as it basically hit our downside targets very close right there. We were saying like mid 50s. It hit down to 58.40 or so. So I would be looking for maybe, it might have one more grind out of the lows or so, but ultimately I'm probably looking for a bounce here first than anything. I'd only call continuation to low 50 cents if you see a 4-hour closure below 60 cents even. At that point, I'd probably be looking for a move towards, I think it was 53. Let me just double check. Yeah, 53 to 54 or so if that were to happen. Until then, I do think short term it's a little more likely to bounce here, and I would confirm a nice little bouncy bounce with any sort of a 4-hour closure above about 68 cents. In that case, probably looking at a move somewhere around 74 to 72 or so. Again, that is not the same thing as a reversal. Obviously, this one is still long-term heavily bearish here, but bear market rallies can be pretty aggressive and pretty nasty, and could even come up as far as like mid to upper 70 cents. But long-term heavily bearish as long as you're especially below 90 cents, let alone like $1.25. So if you are just looking at the short term, I think it's a little more likely to bounce here. We're seeing a lot of extremes here on 4-hour and even up to I think daily. Not necessarily there on a daily yet, but 12-hour BBWP showing that we are at extremes here. So at least a bit of sideways, and then probably a bounce attempt maybe the time that CPI data releases later today. If we go over here to the daily, you will notice that daily stochastic momentum will turn back up above 67 cents. If that condition is met, I'd very likely be looking for that move into the mid or deep 70-cent region. 12 hours already there at 60.80. And 6-hour is probably going to be there as well. Yep, is upside angled above 63 cents, which you're actually below right now. And 4 hours is actually at 66 cents. So maybe I take that back. It's still among some of the weaker assets in this market. But I still would refrain from calling continuation to like, mid to low 50 cents until you do see a 4-hour closure below 60 cents right there. Until then, is this thing more likely to bounce off these regions? I tend to think so, yes, but I would be waiting for that closure above that region, specifically earlier, and then probably looking somewhere around more like 75 cents actually. And then we'll come back to it after that. But again, I want to just reiterate that long term, I'm heavily bearish on this below 1.25. Anything less than that is a lower high. And on a monthly basis, I do think longer term, it probably does have more downside. This is probably like months down the road, although I've never been great with timing, but probably somewhere down around about 35 to 45 cents or so. Yeah, maybe we can also pull a fib on this one as well. Let's just see. Yeah, 30 cents looks good. If that fails, then I guess 17.5 is okay. But fair enough. Hopefully that was helpful, man. Cool. D-Fox says that is all good, man. All fucking good. Another OG the cave. My fucking man. Love it, dude. Fucking love it. Sam Fregdosi. There he is. On Nicey. Okay. LMT. Is this Lockheed Martin? Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Daily versus daily and weekly. Actually, is this seeing distribution or reaccumulation? I am not certain, but it is long-term, probably the best chart that we're going to see today. Probably the best chart that it pays to be in the war business, I guess. I mean, they make like fighter jets, don't they? Daily and weekly. All right, let's go to a daily. Daily has a bit of a range going on right here. I'd actually be bullish on this one, especially as long as you are above the last higher low, which is about 430. Short term, probably range is in here. And if you see something like that, plus above 450, that's at the point where I'd call this one ready to return back up somewhere around your 460 highs. And that's going to make it look like it's going to have basically weekly continuation probably later this summer to new all-time highs. But by the same token, this will start to fall apart with any sort of a daily closure below about 430. I'd look for a next move down somewhere around that wick low that you saw from March of this year. Probably another bounce there. But that would be my call for a macro reversal. So bounce would probably bring you, something like this, and then come down and correct more heavily towards the 375 region long term. Other than that, it's actually one of the best charts that we're probably going to see today, but need to see that next move bring it back above that region. Otherwise, or it's not necessarily that it needs to see the next move come back above that region. It just needs to not come below this region. And at that point, I'd probably be looking at this one to make new all-time highs as it starts to wedge itself into, or would wedge itself into, a reaccumulation formation right here, and just kind of eyeballing targets, 430 versus like 470. Probably looking at 500 to 500 plus if that would complete. Chester Adlin says, is the hex bottom in? Snapshot bull catalyst soon. I gotta buy the rumor, sell the fucking news, man. All right. Well, it's your money, but let's see. It actually had one of the better charts a while ago, and not so much anymore. I do think it is going to rally up here again, but I'm looking at this now as joining the rest of the market. I think the LARP lines are gonna play out here. Short term, probably bouncy. So is the bottom in? No, probably not, man. Or at least I wouldn't say so. I do think you're probably going to bounce here, but any bounce that fails to get back above 20 cents is continuation, man. I'm looking for this one to come back down to this blue box here, and maybe lower over time after another bounce. Probably something like this, if anything. Probably something like this. Now, if you do see any sort of a move above 20 cents, I would immediately call that the low is in. You're very likely going to see moves towards 28 to 30 cents, and probably upwards and onwards from there, but I think that's quite unlikely. But hey, you don't care about my opinion on something like this, man. It's all about the hex. Yeah, probably short term continues a little bit more of a bounce, but ultimately I do think this one comes back down. I think at best it's going to be going sideways within this 10-cent range for a while. If you can do that for like a year, that'd be actually pretty good. Snapshot bull. Is that what they tell you, that the snapshot's going to be bullish? Okay, all right. I'll take your word for it. Hey, what's up, Josh? Namaste to you, brother. What's up, man? Good morning to you. Good fucking morning to you. Good to see you still around, man. Hope everything's going well in your side of the land. Haven't heard from you in a while, so I figure you're probably just enjoying your bull market profits. So good stuff. Let's see. Martin Hunt says, morning, sir, could you take a look at XMR on the 4-hour and daily? Yes. XMR USD. Okay. Weak, man. Relatively weak. Yeah, I remember we looked at this last week or 2 weeks ago off of this move right here. This was the exact move that immediately made us bearish on this one. I think I was looking at moves back down to like 175. Didn't just hit that target, it smashed it all the way down to like 155. I'd be looking for it to probably trade a little bit lower before it tries for a low here. Something like this, and tries to probably base off of the same lows that you saw from January and February, which is like 135 to 150 or so, which you're very, very close to already. But if you can do something like that, that'd be long-term better, obviously, than just fucking shooting through. But, you got a lot of nasty signals here. Weekly hidden bearish divergence. Now, you can very easily say that move's played out. I mean, you're already back down to your range lows, maybe a little bit lower there. Weekly Jewel is about to give you a downside signal as well. So I would say that pressure still remains to the downside, but I'd probably be looking for a bounce off this region first, and bounce can come back up maybe later this month or early June, anywhere to like 175 to 190 or so. But long term, pretty fucking bearish below like 215 or so. If it is going to break down from this region, it probably bounces first, and then maybe like June, July, then does something like that. If it is going to break down, if it starts to hold and you see another higher low and does something like that back above about 215, that would obviously be macro massively bullish, but yeah, other than that, man, I think you've done the majority of this downside move already. Maybe just one more swipe down and probably grinds it out a few more times and then tries for a bounce. I'll be massively wrong on it about bouncing if you see any sort of a weekly closure below like 135, which I think that you're more interested in higher term timeframes. Oh no, you're looking at a 4 on daily. Oh, you're fucked. Sorry, looking for a decent bounce off of weekly lows. Yeah, I would be looking for bounces off those regions. But that would imply, first a little bit more continuation here. I would not look for a fucking 4-hour to reverse this one, let alone even call like a decent bounce. This is a daily move. And until this really starts to come back down below the moving average, I would not be looking for any sort of, sustained bounce there. Yeah. Let's see. Tree City West says, does this feel similar to Mount Gox? I was actually not around for Mount Gox, I did Hex, or more Safe Moon. I was around during Safe Moon, but I never really looked at it. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's just garbage, man. This one's only ever gone down. I can't, like, compared to Bitcoin. No, this is like a worthless altcoin, man. It'll never do anything, or very unlikely to do anything ever. And this one probably comes back down to its all-time lows, if anything. At least Bitcoin's had some sustained rallies, so I'd have to say no. As far as Mount Gox, I was not around during that time, so I can't comment. The people that I do know who were around during that time, they actually did say it was somewhat similar, but yeah, I can't offer. I can't say anything for myself. Tokyo Channel says, could we look at dollar yen mid long term? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dollar yen. Yes, that's the pairing we want to be looking at. Let's see, are we still bullish here or what? Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, we are. Wow. New all-time highs upon new all-time highs. Continue to get new all-time highs. Insane. Again, I think at some point you're going to see a correction somewhere down to like 127 or so. Yeah, I think that you probably do correct before another like major continuation on your macro timeframes. Anywhere like 127 is fair game, but I'm still looking for a long-term macro continuation to significantly new all-time highs. Now we can, I've already done a fib on this. I still think that this one probably hits around like 135-ish. Probably tries for a monthly top there, but again, monthly top within the context of a massively strong uptrend probably just equates to another higher low. Could you get that higher low somewhere around 127? Probably yes, but I don't know if I'd call continuation from here first or pullback first. Let's see, is there anything obvious? If anything, probably one more drive to the upside first. I mean, this one's still bullish, obviously. I'd only invalidate that with a move below your lows from last week, which is 128.62.5. Until then, I think you're probably a little bit more likely to maybe make one more new high and then come down. Then again, I look at the weekly; it's a little bit more hot here, so yeah, I'd feel a lot more confident calling that pullback down to like 127 or so if you do see that move below 128.62. Until then, I guess I cautiously look for one more drive to the upside. If things get really extreme, maybe as much as 135, especially off of today's event. But any sort of a pullback down to like 126.5 to 127 is, to me, is just a very obvious higher low likely coming before major continuation of new highs. Wouldn't be surprised to see this one over the next few years, like closer to 145 to 150. That is fucking wild. Yeah, wow. Yeah, I feel like that wasn't too helpful, but man, this one's out in no man's land as far as I'm concerned. Mr. Venegas is back. He's looking at NAS futures. Okay, let's pull this one up. Daily and weekly. Okay. Oh, it came down to whatever level we had here. Nice. Yeah, again, you're coming off of your March 2021 levels, but let's put this into perspective by looking at a higher term time frame. While things probably do bounce here, and they can bounce up significantly. I mean, shit, if it really wanted to bounce, it could bounce all the way up to like, it could bounce like 1,000 points up, like 13,700 or so. Long term, heavily bearish as long as you're below that last lower high, man. Even 14,300 is a big pivot there now too. But long term, I mean, let's put this into perspective. NAS isn't even down to its like March 2020 lows yet, let alone its fucking September 2020 lows. I do think longer term, this one does have more downside to go. I think at least we're coming down to like 11,200 or so. Long term, I mean, here's a Sombrian chart. Like, I think strongly this one comes back down to like low 11,000s, but does it bounce short term here? Probably yes. Probably just a bear market bounce. I mean, if we really had like a catastrophic event, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if it really wanted to have a catastrophic event, it's probably going to come back down to your 2020 lows, which is like 8,000 to 9,000 or so. I mean, again, let's put this in perspective. Let's look at SPX long term, like very long term. You know, if I showed you this chart, would you say correction's over yet? I mean, you're getting triple drives of quarterly bearish divergence. Like, you haven't had that since basically the 70s. In the 70s, like, this is probably what we're looking at here over the course of the next few years or a couple years. I mean, that's nasty. I mean, let's put this on a 6 month. Let's put this on a 6 month. I mean, would I feel comfortable saying that the correction is over here? No. Fuck no. I think it has more down to go over time. I think SPY coming down to like 360 at least. I mean, you're gonna have semi-annual fucking annual bearish divergence here. You even have a bearish engulfing, I believe. Yes, indeed you do. Being worked on, closing next month, end of June. You know, it's gonna take time. And there's going to be bounce along the way. I think there's going to be a bounce probably from around here. But and bounces can even be like really aggressive, like 10, 15, 10%, you know, could be aggressive like that. But long term, I think this one does correct further south, as does NASDAQ. Yeah, pretty insane chart, man. Pretty insane chart. Yeah, I think I'll leave that one there. Same thing on NAS. It's like, yeah, it's probably going to bounce relatively soon. Can bounce very easily, like even 1,000 points from where we're at, or close to 1,000. But I would not be calling reversal anytime soon. Yeah, I think this one comes down closer to like 11.5 to 11 even. Are you short on society? I don't really have any comment with that, man. But I mean, I'm definitely concerned with the situation in Ukraine. Let's see. Robert Moore says, can you ask Krown to post a downloadable link to his YouTube intro in the comment section? There is a video. If you go onto YouTube, let me just type it in here. Krown crypto theme, maybe? Is this it? Let me just see. Yeah, if you type this onto YouTube, hey, stop that. You should be able to find it right here. This is probably the one that you're looking for. The Call of the Cave. Sorry, no, it's into the cave. That's the one. That's probably what you're looking for. But a downloadable link. I actually don't have one like that. But you can just I don't know. You can either just record it yourself or use one of those like internet downloading tools, and that'll get the job done right there. Cool. We are an hour and 20 minutes into this one. I am out of comments. I think I'll hang around here for like another 5 minutes or so, and then we'll call it a day. Michael Blass says Jerome Powell will probably pump the market 3 months before midterms for the Biden gang. I mean, you know, it is a political thing. Yes. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that. So bottom around, you know, end of summer, maybe something like that. That kind of looks about right with a lot of the things that we're seeing here too. $5 by end of stream for Luna. We can go back to it and check it out, see what she's doing. Where is it? Oh my God. Jesus fucking Christ. That is just so, that is, look, I'm sorry if you lost a lot of money in Luna, but I'm just commenting on the brutality of this move. I haven't seen something like this in a long time. I think the last time I saw something like this was maybe BitConnect blowing up. Yeah. That's a bad sign, man. That's a really bad sign, if anything. Dear Lord. Bitcoin is looking weak right now, says Simon. Yeah, it did just reject that last try up pretty nastily. But I think anything that you're seeing today before CPI data comes out later is just a range and not really relevant, even to like an hourly range here. I still kind of err on the side of a try up overall. But to be fair, I mean, is bearish divergence starting to formulate here? Well, shit. I mean, actually not yet on a 4 hour. On an hourly, yes, but hourly bearish divergence or hidden bearish divergence is not the same thing. Appreciate that, Greg Page, but feel free to have a message as well. Edwin's Generation says, I lost a lot of money in Luna, but I would not mind if you play the Rana Poo clip. Yeah. Trying to be nicer to the, or trying to be more, what's it called? Empathetic. He wants near. Sure. Hi, Krown. Did you make a video about backtesting? I actually have, but I will probably make another one just because I get this question so fucking often. Near? Okay, near. No time frames? Great. Down? This one's weak. Man, are we about to see some more continuation to the downside again? Jesus, this one already hit the $9 target. You know, I still think that whether it maybe spikes down to like 8.5 or 8.75 first, or kind of tries for a bottom here, I think it's kind of irrelevant. I think that you're generally going to be looking for at least a short-term low relatively soon. But wow, the 4 hours continuation, that's insane, man. That is just fucking nasty. I'm inclined to say, though, I'd still probably be looking for a bounce somewhere around this region, whether it spikes a little bit lower towards 860 or not. 5 day says that this is going to fail. However, 5 day says long term looking more around like $7 to 6.5. So, you know, whether you get a bounce here or not, I'm still inclined to say, you know, bounce would not be out of the. I mean, you kind of already did get a bounce. How much did this bounce? Oh wow, it bounced like 23%. Jesus Christ, yeah. Can't get too aggressive with that. You know, it might bounce again here. It might not. I don't know. But long term, if that's relevant to you, which I don't know because you didn't include a time frame, I do think that this one probably comes closer down to like $6.5 to $7. Again, I wouldn't even call it a bottom there. I'd just call, you know, likely a bounce. Yeah, monthly says that this one does very likely come down lower in the next few months here. I wouldn't be surprised to see this one, yeah, closer to like 6.5, at least, maybe even $5, like around end of summer. Pretty ugly. I'm just kind of looking at this area, saying, do you get another short-term time frame bounce or not? I mean, you already got a 22% bounce. I mean, maybe that was it. I guess I'd call continuation and no more bouncies. Bouncies are canceled with any sort of a 4-hour closure below 889 that is. Until then, you know, if it wants to bounce one more time, I guess. But long term, I think that there's more downside risk. What is Nimbo sent now? Nimbo, do you have news of when the new Pulse chain is coming out? Where's my fucking Pulse chain? Sir, don't leave out the Luna stablecoin USD. Yeah, we already looked at it, man. We already looked at it. Pretty ugly there, but we can look at it again. I mean, that thing was moving earlier. And by the way, man, I'm just giving you shit. I don't actually care about the fucking Pulse chain thing, even though I have sacrificed a non-trivial amount to it, just so that I just have to say this so that the fucking hex crew does not like come in with their goddamn pitch. Those guys are just they're intense. Wow. Made a new low in the last hour. No rest for the Lunas. That was just a mean chart. That's just a mean chart. Bitcoin dominance says Venegas. Okay, let's check it out. Yes, I'm bullish on this one, and I continue to be bullish on it. And I expect that we're probably going to see somewhere into like the mid 40s in the coming months. I think this is your next macro low right here. I literally think it's like right fucking there. Yeah, I would not be surprised at all to see this one mid 40s, maybe even like 50 plus in the coming quarter. Yeah, I am boorish. I'm very fucking bullish on this chart. Very, very bullish on this chart. Let's see. I feel like I missed something maybe. Yeah, I just did Mr. Venegas. Hex says vision. Yeah, man. It's like the problem with Hex is that there actually know few people from the community who are like really good people and really, really nice, but the like a lot of them, man, it's just like the mob coming after you if you say anything negative or just anything that's not like glowingly positive about their favorite thingy. You know, it's like, look, man, I'm just looking at the charts, that's all. Can we have the Doggy Coin song? I actually can't play that. Last time I played it, my video got blocked. I don't know why that is. Man. That's really unfortunate. I probably got reported by some Doggy Coin holders. For real though, I mean, they can do that. Is he ever going to check XRP? I'm new here. Look, like, do you want me to look at fucking shitty ass XRP? Oh man, let's do XRP just for fucking you, baby. Oh, down to our 55-cent target, barely a goddamn bounce. and we'll play you a nice song for your glorious chart. I'm new here. Show me the XRP chart. Look, it's probably gonna, it might bounce again. Probably does bounce again. I mean, it's been beat up a shit ton to the downside. But while you listen to these sweet sounds of Lexington Steel, I would not be surprised at all to see this thing back down to like a quarter in the next year. Short term, if it rallies up to like 55 cents, amazing. That's great. Long term, heavily bearish below $1, let alone fucking 90 cents. I would be more confident saying 25 cents in the next year than I would say like $1. Is he ever going to look at XRP? I did. Wow. Oh man, that is just a nasty weekly. Fun times, man. Fun times. Yeah. You know, there's gonna be bounce along the way. I wouldn't be surprised to see a bounce from here. It could, shit, if it wanted to even bounce up to like 65 cents, that'd be okay. But the long term, I'm anything below 90 cents is just very likely looking at continuation towards maybe a quarter in the next year or so. Very, very ugly. Crypto Aram says KDA. KDA, huh? Let's see where this piece of highly esteemed technology is. I know I did. Oh, Faraz. Yeah, man, they blocked my doggy video, but they didn't block the original one. Oh, KDA. This looks good. This looks real fucking nice. Jesus Christ, man. You don't need me to tell you that this is just a garbage piece of shit chart. Jesus. Just like it's really bullish when you retrace your whole parabolic blow off top pump without a goddamn uptrend in between there. Wow. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Absolutely fucking pathetic. Again, there's gonna be bounce along the way. Probably even big bounces. Maybe even at some point retest back up to like 5 1/4. But I don't know what they sold you on here, man. But whatever they sold you on, it looks like they're not doing it. Could be wrong on that though. Krown, please give us a check. We already looked at Hex, man. I think it's topped out there. Anything below 20 cents is just another lower high, man. I think that you probably get probably one more bounce into your event, whatever that event is, and then probably back down again. Richard said 2 weeks again this morning. Another 2 weeks. I thought it was supposed to be 2 weeks from fucking 2 weeks ago. God damn it, man. This is getting absurd. Venegas is back, says Bitcoin 1 second time frame, please. 100,000x long. Wow. That's amazing, man. I actually do have the second time frame over here. It's a trip to watch too. Oh my god, it really can make your heart go very, very fast though. Wow. Oh my god, man. I don't think I can literally type fast enough to trade the 1 second chart, or let alone the 1 minute chart, really. That's a hell of a thing, man. Too bored to super chat now. Me too, man. Me too. We're all in this together. Yeah, this is the point where most people, where most of the hopium peddlers go from peddling like the next fucking bullish chart to posting inspirational quotes. I'm back, baby, says Riggs. He's back again. Fucking love it, man. It's not going to be okay, or it's going to be okay. A lot of people getting wrecked. We've seen it all before, and we'll see it again. Yeah, I mean, possible. Dan says, much love, brother. It's been a while. It's been too long, man. Aussie dollar. Yeah, let's look at Forex. I think we looked at this like a week or two ago, and it was looking quite bearish. Let's see where it is now. Looks pretty fucking bearish. Looks pretty fucking bearish. I mean, it again might bounce a little bit more here, but I do think that this one's coming back down to like 66. Or sorry, not 66, but 67 or so. Let's see what the quarterly looks like. Man, probably 67 over the next like half year, and then things really get nasty, maybe more like 62 in the next year and a half. I mean, that is, man, some of these forex charts are like really ugly. Zucatan says, will Chainlink perform well again this bear market like in 2018? There's no way for me to know that. But that is an interesting observation just because, it was one of the only things that did well in 2018. Now, I guess what you could say about Chainlink is that, it played out a strong majority of this correction already, I'd imagine. If it does go lower, I don't think it has like that much lower to go, maybe like $5. I think like worst case scenario is probably like $4 to $5. So, will it bottom out before everything else like 2018? Maybe. I don't know. But like if it did something like this and just, dribbled along there and then maybe gave another try at the upside, like 24, 25, maybe. But again, there's going to be bounce along the way. But I wouldn't say that just straight up right now. I think theoretically, you might be onto something there just because, honestly, I just don't know. I do think this one will eventually come lower. It seems to me like it's playing mostly with the rest of the market. So I think that's all I have to say about that. Other than that, I don't, I'm not getting anything that indicates that this one's like bottomed out here just yet. Again, bottoming out, not the same thing as, or macro bottom, not the same thing as a bounce. This thing can bounce definitely, heftily as well. But long term, I wouldn't say so just yet. I'm not seeing anything like you saw over here, right? So you can see over here in 2018, it was putting in a bottom while most things were continuing with their macro downtrends. So until you at minimum get a weekly high or low, I wouldn't even consider it. And right now, this is continuation. So it would take a long time for what it's worth. I like how everyone's, or a lot of people are requesting like shitcoins as if they're going to have like a amazingly good chart. I mean, every once in a while you do get one like that, but VRA, garbage, back down to its summer of last year lows. Probably gets another bounce here, probably does. Bounces can be very aggressive to the upside. I mean, shit, man. I think the market probably is going to put in like a pretty amazing bear market bounce. But just keep in mind that as long as Bitcoin's below 52, it's still macro down, which obviously again can be, some pretty, again, big bounces. EGLD. Okay, what's EGLD? I remember when everyone used to show this thing. What's this thing doing nowadays? To pound for pound, it actually hasn't gone down as much as other things, but I don't think that's going to be lasting for too much longer. Again, it depends what time frame we're on, but in the next like half year, I'd probably be looking for this one down well below $100, somewhere between like 85 to maybe as low as 55. I mean, this is like a macro cycle top right here. There's nothing bullish about this chart, especially as long as you're below like 260 or 250 in this case. So again, there's going to be rallies. There's certainly going to be rallies along the way, but generally looking for more downside long term. Krown, give your woman a sensual foot massage should fix her back. I really like that Instagram reel you sent me this morning. That was some good stuff. Venegas says, Gary, the ish coin didn't die hard. Let's see. I'm actually, if you do have bullish charts or just charts that don't look as shitty as the rest, I'd be very interested to see them today because that actually does mean something rather significant. And yeah, this would definitely be among them. This is this is probably the best crypto chart we've seen today. Doesn't mean it's gonna blindly just go straight to the upside from here, but I mean, it probably does end up coming back down to like 55 cents. I think last we looked at it was like over here, and I said probably putting in a top, like at least a short-term top. I think I still stick with that, and I think that this one does come down to 55 cents or so. Yeah, I do think that this one's topped out for a little bit of time, but I wouldn't get like full on bearish on it as long as you're above 50 cents. So I just think that, comes down to like 55, tries for a bounce. And then if the bounce, reclaims back above about 69, then fair game. I'd probably be looking for a retest of your all-time highs or your all-time highs from like February, which is close to $1. South Charlotte Services says, thanks for honesty and humor. All good, man. I just hope that people understand, like, when I'm making an attempt at humor, it's just that. It's just humor. Sometimes it comes off well, sometimes not so much. So apologies if there's any hurt feelings alongside that. And we need both in this crazy ass. Dude, you're fucking right about that, man. Stay safe considering you have a maniac at your border. Yeah, man, it's pretty crazy to see how, like, people have changed around here with that whole situation. At first it seemed like no one was really concerned at all, and now it seems like people are kind of maybe getting a bit more concerned. I think, it's hard to really make much out of it. But Finnish people, they're very cold, and because they're cold, like, well, they are. It's like the weather, like it's hard to get emotion out of them to, like, where they say, yeah, we're worried about this or we're not worried about this. But for what it seems like people are generally, they honestly come off as if they don't care, which is, like, really something to watch, man. Like, I really have to commend their bravery. Yeah, Luna is not a healthy correction, bro, says the bull. I would agree with that. I mean, we'd have to define terms of health, right? Yeah, 90% down, not my definition of not my ideal definition of healthy. Man, Bitcoin, is it going to give it up right here? Is it going to come back down? It looks like the hourly does want to trade back down, but again, I don't really have any major calls until CPI data comes out, and then I suspect we'll probably see some volatility, some spikes here, some spikes there, and then if you see anything above yesterday's high, then I think that we're going to get the next sort of bear market bounce in order, and that can be, could easily come to like 34, 35. Can we do a community poll? How many people think Bitcoin will go lower low, and who thinks it's bottomed out, sort of thing? We actually can't do that just yet with our tools here, but we are working on it in the app. So we'll be able to do, like, more consistent polls and just get, like, a community sort of idea of what's going on. And then what we're actually thinking of doing is we're going to track the poll results, and then people can be like, hey man, I'm 90% accurate of the time. I think that would be actually pretty cool. Get a bit of what's it called? Accountability, or some bragging rights for people. But yeah, man, Bitcoin, I don't know, it's come back down here. Looks like it will. It's pretty swift rejection. Luna dump is speeding up, so maybe let's see. I'd imagine that if Bitcoin's trading back down, might be catalyzed by this over here. Yeah, Jesus, man, wow. I mean, again, in a more sincere tone, like, this is really something that you do not see often, or certainly that I don't see often. I don't know about you, but starting to do a lot of volume on the lows here. I think we're a lot closer to a low than not. Might get like one more just complete washout move and bring it down, like, I don't know, $5-6, but Jesus. Yeah, I don't want anything to do with this. Again, I think trading something like this complete gambling. Brent McLean says 8 hourly. Okay, I think this is gonna be the last one for the day, actually. And then we'll yeah, well, I don't think we really need to. I think this will be fast enough. Ugly. I believe we called a top on this one a while ago, and I continue to call a top on it. I think that I'm not even getting like bottoming signals on this one. I might very well be wrong about Bitcoin bouncing off this region before another drive down to like 28,000. Jesus, man, this is hefty stuff right here. Yeah, technically speaking, I shouldn't call continuation to new lows until you close below 798. That is. It's certainly not looking strong right there, but until you do, I shouldn't necessarily call continuation from a technical perspective. But if you do, at that point, it's free fall time. This one's already in free fall. But hey, if you can trade back above yesterday's high, I would look for a corrective bounce with targets up to the probably around like 11, maybe even $12.50 if that were to happen. Yeah, not great here. Really not great. I mean, this is redistribution. So I can very easily be wrong about Bitcoin bouncing today. And I will be wrong about Bitcoin bouncing today if you see any sort of an hourly closure, even below 30,000. Very likely going to see 28 after that. Which is kind of, I mean, this is like, we're getting to extremes here. Wow. Yeah, someone said Luna's approaching $6. Yeah, this is, oof, God. Man, that I mean, this is just interesting to watch. I have no dog in this race over here, or no horse in this race. Is it a dog or I don't know. I don't know, but man, like that is a hell of a thing to behold. Yeah, maybe does gun for like $5-6 before it tries for a bounce. That is absolutely filthy. And even then, it's like coming back down to your last macro lows is not bullish. It's not fucking bullish. Probably gives you a bounce, but it's not bullish. Luna 660. Yeah, I read 725 on Binance here. I'm curious, what exchange are you on to pull up that price? VPAD is launching. Okay, I'm just curious here. It sounds very legit. Well, let's see. Let's not judge it before we see it. It is pumping. I suspect this is going to be your next lower high, however. But yeah, it is pumping here. Actually, the best chart that we're probably going to see today. To be fair, you know, have to call a good chart, or at least in the short term. I do think that this one probably does continue a little bit more. Can even continue up to, I don't know, like, I mean, if this one wants to, it can continue up to like 27 to 30 cents. But I suspect you're just getting ready for another lower high. You're gonna have hidden bearish evidence the whole way through. I think last time we looked at this, where you got very mad at me and you left me a very, very mean comment, sir. Like a very mean comment was over here when I was saying this one very likely trades much further south, and it looks like it has. Not to chew my own horn, but just to remain accountable here. Yeah, I think you could easily extend this one more if it wants, but still not a bullish chart long term. Just short term. Let's see what the 4 hour looks like. Short term actually looks like it wants to put in a high right here, maybe a little bit higher, but I do think that this one will eventually come back down to about 2170. Yeah, 4 hours actually put in a top right here. I take back what I said. I don't think that this one continues much from here. It might get a spike up, but probably closes down. I think this is likely your next short term lower high. All I can hear is Tom Petty free falling. How about them charts? Yeah, man. Hey, thanks for that, Hodl King. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, so many Ranch said so many people getting wrecked. Yeah, man, you know, it's sad to see, of course, like you know, no one's like rooting for people to lose fucking money, or if you are, I mean you probably got bigger problems in your life than that. You know, I think best case scenario to the upside, this thing maybe does like 30 cents, but I think it's a lot more likely to put in a high in this in this range here first, to be quite honest with you. Let's see. Alrighty, sirs and sirs. I think the free fall. We're gonna have to do a free falling song next time, but my voice is too wrecked to sing. Cool. I think I'll just leave it right there. Again, for Bitcoin, I'm still looking at this as a range, but man, it's getting real close. It's not looking like it wants to try another move to the upside. Again, I would call a range resolution to the downside with any sort of a closure below about 30,100 or so. Just anywhere lower than yesterday's low, or sorry, for me it's today's low, but for most people it's probably gonna be yesterday's low. At that point, I do look for the 5-day to play out, with next target down somewhere around the 200 simple, which is 28 to 28.5. Other than that, you know, we do have an event coming in later today, so I expect a lot of volatility around there. It'd make more sense to me to bounce this one out, but theoretically I cannot, or technically speaking, I cannot call a bounce before we trade above yesterday's high. At that point, I'm very likely looking at a move towards 34, 35 region, and then come back to it after that. Anyways, hopefully that was in some way helpful. I want to once again thank everyone for joining on in. It was some fun times. And I'll be signing off now. Hope everyone stays nice and safe. Remember, you don't necessarily need to be a hero to make a shit ton of money in a market like this. You can wait until you have your edge and then trade that if you so desire. But with that said, I'm going to be signing off. Take care. Elsa's got her nice, lovely toy in the background waving to you because it loves you as well. And we'll be back soon enough. So in that case, see you hopefully soon.
Write it, code it, name it, tweet it, mine it, stack it, live it, dream it, post it, scan it, charge it, send it, do it, and receive it. Trade it, buy it, sell it, store it, run it, list it, first rename it. Crypto logic. Pump it, hack it, lose it, dump it, sell it, ditch it, fix or pitch it, copy, paste it, nudge it, test it, build it, try it, bend it, fork it, hype it, pump it, dump it, rinse, repeat, but quick relocate. Pause it, list it, send it, burn it, pump it, hack it, quick rename it, take it, take it, lend it, send it, swell it, sell it, flip, unflip it, see it, watch it, learn it, know it, post it, tweet it, and repeat it, chart it, long it, short it, hedge it, post prediction, quick erase it, watch it, leave it, watch it, leave it, check it, click it, and refresh it, find it, drop it, crack it, lose it, curse it, pay it, to it, pay it, bar it, chart it, stream it, post it, scan it, charge it, send it.